As Bitcoin price continues moving to the right, crypto holders around the world tense up in anticipation of its next big move. And as the digital dollar narrative heats up, will this be an ultimate catalyst for Bitcoin to ramp up towards the end of 2021? And nearly 3 days above the 21 daily moving average for Bitcoin before a sudden drop last night. The altcoins have been getting drained and slurped more than my milk carton on a Saturday night. Right now is where boys become men and girls become absolute mommies. I'm your host, Scissor Me Sideways, and Bitcoin is at it again. 100% moving to the right on these charts, but the big question is, who has the strength here, guys? Do the Bitcoin bulls have any strength? Or do the Bitcoin bears have any strength? And after a break down out of the symmetrical triangle, and then a seeming break back up into the middle of the symmetrical triangle, back to the very top of the symmetrical triangle, and now back down out of the symmetrical triangle, will Bitcoin ever make a move? Or is it destined to be stable forever? So you get into the channel, make sure to hit that like, subscribe, turn on these absolutely time-sensitive alerts, and without any further ado, let's get into this rather quick Saturday webisode. Goo goo gaga. So before we jump into the Bitcoin price charts, guys, the digital dollar is being more and more talked about as we have obviously El Salvador coming out, legalizing Bitcoin as legal tender, and we've seen a little bit of pushback. We've seen some politicians in the U.S. Be a little bit of Krabby Patties towards this, as expected, and the talk of CBDCs or just digital fiat currencies or digitizing fiat currencies is becoming more and more commonplace. Again, I have no idea how that would solve anything, just a very silly idea, but it is possible, according to these fund managers, that this will actually push more people into Bitcoin. As central banks around the world consider digitizing these currencies, the trend could actually push more investors into cryptos. That will not displace or, if anything, take market share or compete with decentralized currencies like Bitcoin. I think it's all a trend towards the digitization of money and something that investors and just your average person who may not be in the investment market can glom onto as well. Imagine the world's fiat currencies are digitized. I actually think that pushes more people into something like a Bitcoin because, frankly, that would give governments even more control than they already have around their money supply, and a lot of people can get into Bitcoin for concerns about that type of control. I don't know many people that are a fan of centralized, fiat currencies. I don't know a lot of people that absolutely love the idea of working every single day for a currency that gets less and less valuable every single year. There's nobody that I talk to that if you explained that simple sentence or that simple reality to them, that they get excited and happy for the fact that they're working 9-to-5 jobs, 40 plus hours a week for a currency that is worth less than it was last year and is guaranteed to be worth less by next year than it is today. Well, so with that being said, the entire altcoin market cap is losing value, guys, and it's perfectly demonstrated here. And I've been seeing a lot of people talk about this more and more, and it is Bitcoin dominance kind of rising back up after bottoming underneath 40%. Currently, it's right at about 44%, and a lot of people are pointing to this as a potential bottom. Okay, and my opinion here is, for one thing, guys, as I've been saying for the past over 3 weeks, I do think we've hit the bottom. But the other thing I've been saying, I think it's going to be very boring and tedious for a while, and I think that's exactly what we've been seeing. What I said 3 weeks ago is still exactly what's happened. Bitcoin has not gone below that bottom, and it's not been fun, okay? So I think, unfortunately, I think I've been right on both those things, and it's kind of unfortunate because, crypto is kind of boring right now, but it leaves room for other hobbies if you guys have any. But anyway, what we're seeing Bitcoin fail at certain levels, but it's also not really breaking down that much. I mean, we had a pretty big breakdown last night after failing to hold the 21 DMA. It just went back down to about 35,000, kind of just held right at 35 and bounced back up. Kind of this key level Bitcoin's been ultimately finding most of its daily closes above. There was only like 3 days where we closed either within this range or below it. And that was back kind of the first week of this month of June. But overall, guys, I mean, what I see shaping up on these charts is just absolute stabilization and accumulation, and that's it. Not a lot of big moves to the upside or downside. I think the bears have put so much effort into these last few weeks, and obviously bulls have been exhausted for even, before these last few weeks, before the bears took over. Overall, I think that there's just extreme exhaustion from the bulls and the bears. And at this point, again, I still think we've likely found a bottom, but we're probably just going to keep trading within these ranges for, again, I would say for at least another week or two, probably longer. But again, a big telltale sign here, guys, on this weekly chart, the last 3 weeks, Bitcoin has barely moved. Again, we've gotten some pretty nice swings to the upside and downside, mainly to the downside. It's been stronger to the downside, but we haven't broken below any key levels. And really it's highlighted here. For the most part, we've been sustaining pretty much exactly in between 40 and 30,000, which is two gigantic Fibonacci levels right here, these two giant levels. I think the biggest mistake made when drawing patterns is just drawing a random pattern and then expecting a massive macro move, like say a $15,000 drop. You know, say the momentum gets weaker and weaker over the next few weeks. Again, maybe worst case scenario, something like that would be a possibility. At which point, worst case scenario, if we ever got within the $20,000 range, I think it would immediately bounce back up. So if you sold at 40,000, or even if you sold right here and you're expecting to get back in, I hope you have those orders set already, or I hope you're going to be glued to your computer every single second, because if it would drop, you are pretty much guaranteed to not have a lot of time to get those levels, if it even would ever go that low, right? There's not going to be a lot of time, and just overall very unlikely. But again, if we go to the 1 hour chart, obviously Bitcoin failed yet again. I mean, we can go to the 6 hour chart actually. I like it better here. We were just kind of, we broke down, we came back up, tested the very top of it, tested the bottom for support for very long, multiple days, and then we fell back out of it. But you see, we fell back out, and it kind of just went to the lows that it bottomed out at multiple times over the past month, or the past couple of weeks at least. So again, Bitcoin is just, right now, what it's doing, I think, is just building up support, because we have a lot of resistance above us. And if we're ever going to break the resistance above us, I think we need to solidify and just build that support, kind of like stepping stones. And that's why I've been saying for like 3 weeks now that it's probably going to be boring for a while. And I still think it's going to kind of be boring. I mean, this is kind of, Bitcoin ebbs and flows. We have massive moves to the upside, massive moves to the downside. And we actually just got out of a massive move to the downside, which before that was a massive move to the upside. And in my opinion, this is the obvious perfect time for pretty much what we see kind of the least in markets, which is just sideways trading. With Bitcoin, for the most part, during a bull market, it's pretty fun. We get massive swings up, and then we get crashes where everyone gets scared, but they're very interested still. But now I think we're just in that period where it's just, sideways accumulation, and this can last pretty long. If you would have told a lot of people back here, as Bitcoin was dropping to 29, 28,000, or even just a few days later on May 23rd, back down to 30, if you would have told people, yeah, we're just going to trade sideways for the next 4 weeks, a lot of people would have said, no way, Jose, we're either going to go straight back up or we're just going to crash down to 15,000. Well, lo and behold, fast forward a couple of weeks, zooming back out, literally all we've done is trade sideways. With lower highs and higher lows for the most part. We kind of have like a double bottom pattern right here. But again, for the most part, if I would summarize this, sideways trading. But with that being said as well, altcoins just looking worse. And when Bitcoin kind of stabilizes, that is exactly what you see. So we're seeing Bitcoin literally stabilize, but we're also seeing another signal that confirms Bitcoin is stabilizing, and that is money flowing out of these altcoins into Bitcoin, which is just one of the sure-tell, or like a telltale sign, confirmation that yes, Bitcoin is stabilizing, and it's giving us kind of an indication of, okay, we're in kind of a more sideways trading period. Does that mean we won't have another drop down to maybe the low 30,000s? No, of course, that's still a possibility. But overall, guys, everything I'm seeing, and keep in mind, this is weekend price action. We had this drop last night during weekend price action, which is usually pretty volatile, usually pretty wild and unpredictable. And it dropped. It dropped like what? Is this like 5%? Yeah, like 7%. But that's not really anything. Nobody was really, I don't think, on their tippy toes at that point. I think people are just kind of pretty aware of this price action and kind of bored with how the volatility has been decreasing. And I think that that's still going to be in the cards for a while. So to be honest, if I take a day or two off of making Bitcoin videos, I think you understand why. I don't know what to talk about. It's just like the boring sideways trading. It's happened many times. I've been in the market and seen this many, many times. It does happen. It's the most boring parts of cycles, whether it's a bear market or a bull market. Either way, it happens in both. But they do happen. And this is just another example of that. So if you guys are new to the channel, make sure you like, subscribe, just me absolutely time-sensitive alerts. And without any further ado, that's it for me. Bye-bye.